Before I get into today's topic, right, have a look on screen just there. That is a buddy of mine called David. He is a PT and fitness instructor, not paid at all. This is just me helping a mate out. That's his Instagram page, has a lot of fitness tips on there. Go and give him a follow, give him a DM. He might be able to sort you out with some plans or something like that. But go and give him a follow. As I said, it's not paid at all, just me helping a mate out. Let's get into this video. Alright lads, Daniel Dubois, following his loss at the weekend at the hands of Joe Joyce, has actually come out on Twitter now and released a statement following the loss, following his, treatment in hospital over the bad eye injury he suffered, a fractured orbital bone. I'm going to read the statement he said here verbatim. I'm going to quote Daniel Dubois here. "Thank you to everyone who sent me messages of support over the weekend. All respect to Joe Joyce. He boxed well and won fair and square. I thought I was winning the fight. I tried to fight through the injury, but I couldn't in the end. I'm out of hospital now and will wait for the fracture to heal. I'll be back to prove my doubters wrong and my fans right." End of quote. That is what Daniel Dubois has had to say on the matter. I'm going to give my 2 cents on that now. Daniel Dubois, okay, he is going to be... It'll be a while before he's back in the ring. I'd say you're talking 8-9 months, maybe more. You know, I've seen bad eye injuries like that in the past. The one that comes to mind would be Denis Lebedev. Remember his eye injury? That's probably the worst, most graphic eye injury I've ever seen in the ring. When Lebedev got that. I mean, people said Dubois' eye was bad. I mean, Denis Lebedev literally looked like the Elephant Man in there against Guillermo Jones. That was horrific. He missed about 9 months of action with that. Although I don't think there was any necessarily damage done to his orbital bone right now. I think it was just a very, very, very bad swelling. Worst swelling I ever seen. Whereas Dubois, it's the orbital bone. Now, we've seen in the past fighters who've had that kind of injury really not be the same. You know, we look at Kell Brook. I remember going on Twitter there today and seeing a message from Anthony Ogogo. Now, Anthony Ogogo was never that good. Alright, that's fair to say. I mean, he was barely British level, you know, when he was fighting. I think that's a fair assessment. But he suffered as well with, I think it was an orbital bone or a detached retina or something like that. But once that went, he couldn't fight again. Remember against Craig Cunningham? That was when he suffered that eye injury. And that was, 4 years ago? And he's been out of the ring. So, well, he's retired. You know, he had to retire because of that injury. So, when you think of fighters who've had that injury or had similar kind of injuries like that, they're never normally quite right after that. Alright, they're never normally quite right after. So that's going to be a question for Daniel Dubois, especially being in the heavyweight division. Alright, because these guys hit hard. You know, Joe Joyce's jab. Now, Joe Joyce is a very powerful jab anyway, very tudden. He's got like 2 sandbags in his fists. Get the jab from Joe Joyce could do damage, but get the jab from any heavyweight could do damage as well. And if your eye is fragile now, that could be an issue for Dubois moving forward. Some fighters will be looking at Dubois and thinking, yeah, you know, he doesn't have heart, he quit, he this, that and the other. He did quit. I'm not going to lie and say he didn't. He obviously did. But, you know, at the end of the day, what would other fighters do in that situation? What would most people do in that? You see, people are very quick to jump and say, oh, you know, if that was me, I wouldn't. But what if you were in that situation? What if you were in that situation with your eyes swelled up like that? You know, his corner really should have took a look at him and stopped it. But if your eyes swelled up like that, you can't see, and you know that there's damage there. I mean, really? Would you really want to risk going on and doing yourself? Like, what if, right, Dubois had... Let's just say first, what if he kept going? Alright, and he got the decision in that fight. Then he went to the doctor and it had gone too far. Would it really be worth getting a win but ruining your career? I mean, we don't know about how Dubois' career will be moving forward, but let's just say he can rebuild, he can come back and the eye doesn't, you know, cause him long-term damage. Well then, you know, hindsight would be 2020. Retrospect would be a good thing that he quit, because it would have prolonged his career rather than, yeah, you won, but what did you really win? And, you know, when you see people jumping out and saying, you quit, it's like, it's very different, right? If there's a fighter like, you know, Virgil Ortiz or someone like that who, you know, just quit. It's very different if it's a fighter who's not really taking any punishment, who's in a kind of nip and tuck fight, and then he just decides, you know what, the hell with it, I don't want no more. That's very different. That's very different than this fight, right? In terms of what Dubois was saying, how he thought he was winning the fight, it was fairly even Stevens. I had Joyce ahead. I think majority of people I spoke to had Joyce ahead, but you know, you could make a case for Dubois as well. The judge who, I said once, I'll say it again, the judge who had him 88, 82 ahead, I mean, that was BS. I don't know what the fight he was watching. I mean, like, you talk about eye injuries. I mean, he must have had some serious specs on to be scoring the fight like that. But I'm digressing on that one. In terms of Dubois, look, he is very, very lucky in a sense that he's very young. He's only 23 years old. He's plenty of time on his hands. I done a live stream on Sunday and people were saying, should he leave Martin Bowers as coach? And I said, yeah, he definitely should. He strikes me as the kind of guy who's a bit of a home bird. He might not want to travel, like go to the US. But the two trainers in the UK, at least, who come to mind that I think would be very good for Daniel Dubois, Shane McGuig and Ben Davison. I'd be maybe kind of looking at them with a view of making one of them my coach. Possibly Adam Boot, but I think Daniel Dubois is a bit too stiff and robotic for Adam Boot. Although saying that, you could say the same about Joe Joyce, but he trained with Adam Boot. But I definitely think Dubois is a little bit too stiff for Adam Boot, kind of like. And Adam Boot is very much a kind of guy who his style patterns you on having good athleticism. You know, being a bit quick and nimble. I can't see Daniel Dubois fitting in well there. No offense to Adam Boot, you know, stand-up guy Adam Boot is, you know, very much a stand-up guy. Big up to Adam Boot. But Daniel Dubois moving forward, like, we need to see how the eye goes. Like I said, that would be the main worry. You know, his heart, you could question that, but it's more so the eye. How will the eye hold up in future fights, especially in the heavyweight division? How will it hold up in future fights? We need to wait and see. He's definitely not going to want to rush him. Not going to rush him back. But I said it in my live stream, and I'll say it again. Dubois moving forward, a bit like what Anthony Yarde did. He needed a fight, a real fight in between Joe Joyce and the fight before. And what I mean by that is having someone like a Marius Vac, maybe even a Christian Hammer, someone who was durable but not all that dangerous, would have given Daniel Dubois the world of good, and it might have helped him going into this Joe Joyce fight. Because I said it once, I'll say it again, this was man against boy in there. That's exactly what it was. It was man against boy, and Dubois just wasn't, I don't say he wasn't physically ready, but mentally he definitely wasn't ready. Anthony Yarde, when he fought Kovalev, mentally he was ready, but physically he wasn't. Ready. So you see the kind of counteractions there, and you see they were two of Frank Warren's. They still might be biggest shouts, and he put them in fights just a little bit too soon. So but like Anthony Yarde can come back. He's come back against Lyndon Arthurs next week, or this week actually, and we got to see the same about Daniel Dubois. So those are my thoughts on this. Let me know yours down below. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe of course if you haven't already, if you're new to the channel. And as always, people, oh, by the way, as always, hashtag GMansRocks. You know, you got to get that stuff trending. You always got to trend that. I'll talk to you, people. Peace.